Hey everyone, for today's video I wanted to make kind of a subjective list, if you will, of some of my favorite leader counters, like what leaders counter other leaders, as well as some of the nastiest leader combos in Halo Wars 2. I get this asked all the time, and I came up with, I guess, a medium-sized list of leaders that counter other leaders, or different strategies that will counter other strategies that your opponents are doing, plus some of my favorite leader combos in all of Halo Wars 2. Most of what I'm about to say has been demonstrated in videos in the past. There's quite frankly too many to link to individual videos, so really the best place to see these in action is going to be the Halo Wars 2 multiplayer playlist. But I love to know what your favorite counters are to other leaders in the comments down below, as well as your favorite leader combos when you and your friends are playing up in teams online. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. This is really just ones that I came up with, and I'm sure there's plenty more cheddarful combos. First one up is the one that I think annoys me the most, because I really like playing as Forge. And it feels like every time I pick Forge, there is a Jerome on the other team. Reason why this annoys me so much is I feel like the Omega team directly counters the Grizzly Battalion. I mean, do you think it's just a coincidence that Grizzly Battalion gives me 3 Grizzlies and Omega team gives you 3 Spartans? And if, you know, both players are paying attention, maybe there's an opportunity for me to drop my Grizzly Battalion. Cannot tell you how many times I have seen the opponent drop Omega team right there and then hijack all 3 Grizzlies. So now they have 3 Vet 1 Spartan Grizzlies. That makes it very painful to counter for the rest of the match. Next up is Serina counters Voridus. And this may be a little bit of a stretch, but I think Serina's freezy turrets can really help slow down, pardon the pun, or completely stop a combat spoils rush. So the watchtowers Serina has was kind of been dubbed OP watchtowers. Your second point, you can get the cryotech advances, which gives you kind of a frost aurora around your turrets. So any opponent troops that come into that kind of circumference area will start to freeze and could freeze completely. And let's say you put 4 watchtowers. That's going to cover a good portion of your base. They're cheap, only 100 supplies, and that can really slow down, again, pardon the pun, the combat spoils rush from Voridus. Next up is also a little bit of a stretch, but Decimus kind of counters everyone. When you let Decimus get built up with Boundless Fury, Boundless Siphon, and the Decimus drop, he is really difficult to stop. For some inexplicable reason, people love to just assume that if someone's going to place Decimus, they're just going to make Banshees. And to be fair, Deci Banshees are the best Banshees in the game, but in my opinion, I still think that Banshees are a really expensive army composition, especially when you need to pump, like, say, 40 of them to fill up your entire pop. I actually prefer to do more nasty things with Decimus, more powerful things, like Decimus Wraiths. The Deci Scarab is quite cheddarful to take part of. Decimus Hunters are great as well. And Decimus Grunts, shout out to Decimus Grunts, are great too. So just because you see Decimus does not mean he's going to go Banshees. But Decimus can really counter everyone with all of his other powers. Next up, I have Infantry carriers can counter vehicle and air. This is kind of obvious, but I don't think a lot of people understand just how great that this is. So putting Infantry in things like Mastodons, Phantoms, and the Wraith Invaders can just do wonderful countering. Particularly with the Mastodons, I think those are the nastiest infantry carriers in the whole game. When you have, like, say, 4 Cyclopses with the upgraded stun ability, the shock rounds. I mean, that's a really powerful Mastodon with the infantry in it. And they get veteran seemingly very quickly in those vehicles. Next up, I have Pavium counters ground. The Mega Turrets versus ground is really quite a sight to behold. There are some videos that are posting on the channel right around the time this video is going live of some fantastic Pavium plays with the Mega Turrets. You don't need to go crazy with Mega Turrets. You don't need 5 or 6, but simply just having 1 or even 2 Mega Turrets can quickly deter an opponent and force them to go into all air. It's almost as if you can determine what army composition your opponent is going to make. I have YapYap counters Voridus. So let's say someone puts a maelstrom of all of you or your teammates' units into this, and you know that some other epic leader power is going to jump, whether that's a beam or an eradication or an inferno or the garbage drop, whatever the case may be. Simply just do please don't shoot me. And by the time that please don't shoot me ends, especially when it's upgraded at level 2, the Maelstrom is going to be over, and then you can go ahead and split your army and avoid whatever leader power should be coming your way. To counter mass vultures, I think I've made a video dedicated to mass vulture counter, but if you want leaders that will counter mass vultures, I have YapYap for please don't shoot me, Pavium for Pavium stand, and Atriox for the bulwark / unbreakable. These are things that will just instantly stop mass vultures, particularly the Phoenix Missile Y ability, from destroying a base. I know a lot of times, especially if one of your teammates is playing as UNSC, that it can be quite annoying to deal with a mass vulture spam. So what I usually like to do is wait until right before all the Phoenix missiles hit if I'm playing as Atriox, and then right there I drop the bulwark, and that will automatically cancel out the entire Y ability of those vultures. A Pavium stand is kind of the same thing. However, you have to be the vultures have to be targeting you playing as Pavium in order to do that. If you're Atriox, you can drop the bulwark on anyone and save any base. YapYap, please don't shoot me as well, but you won't be necessarily stopping the Phoenix missile or negating it. You'll just kind of be delaying it until maybe your troops can go there or the enemy vultures will leave. Next up, I have Johnson, Pavium, and Colony turrets counter air. They have great turrets. Shout out to Serina turrets as well. But Johnson, Pavium, and Colony all have either siphon turrets or passive healing turrets. Banished turrets are not as good as UNSC when you counter air. But however, I think Johnson turrets are fantastic the way that it siphons. It's really, really cheddarful. Also, I think Anders gets shielded turrets if I'm remembering correctly. Also, I have anyone with a beam versus anyone with teleport or invincible powers. So let's say you're about to get beamed. You can either teleport away. A lot of the banished leaders have teleport. You can also do things like mech overcharge if they're targeting your base. Again, you can do Pavium stand. And if you're Atriox, you can also do unbreakable or bulwark. Or if you're shipmaster, you can do extraction. Also, you can do other things too. Like if you're playing as arbiter, you can drop your stasis powers. Things like that. Just because you have stasis does not mean you have to stasis your opponents. Sometimes you can stasis yourself in order to save your own units. Next up are some of the nastiest combos that I really enjoy to play in Halo Wars 2. These are simply fantastic. My favorite one is Pavium and Johnson. I really feel like these two leaders were made to play alongside one another because you can have some fantastic combos, and they're so good. So you would make your Pavium hero, and then the Johnson player will go for either like siphon turrets or the heal, and then I actually prefer that they go digging in because you can get a reduced cost and cooldown for the bunker. Then second point is really when things dial up, you can get the bunker drop, and then you just run Pavium over to an enemy's base, you drop the bunker, Pavium gets in, and so your opponents are going to start attacking the bunker, and Pavium's drone will heal it. It's even more cheddarful if you do threes. You can have 2 Paviums in a bunker. You can also make Johnson hero and do the Y ability to heal the bunker. I mean, the list just goes on and on of how insanely crazy that can be. You also have other great line of sight for Pavium that really can make Pavium overtake the whole map. So what I mean is remote sensors from Johnson greatly increases line of sight of buildings. You can also do the orbital designator as Pavium. Combine that with mega turrets, especially on maps like Sentry and Badlands. You can have an insane line of sight advantage on your opponents, and your mega turrets have such a long range to begin with. That's going to work out really, really well for you. Next up are the stuns that can benefit Pavium's either the hero Y ability or the Rain of Fire. So Johnson has the EMP mag, which usually will stun all units within that area if they don't do something like a bulwark or teleport, whatever the case is. And then just combine that with, you could do Ultramons on top of the stun, and then the Y ability of Pavium, and then drop a Rain of Fire. You're going to see a whole army vanish right before your eyes. It's also cool to keep in mind that both Pavium and Johnson can heal buildings through their hero units. Pavium has that drone, and Johnson's Y ability can drop the healing beacon thing, and that will heal buildings. Also, don't forget that they have Digging in Deep and Burnout to benefit their economies too, so I feel like they're kind of similarly designed in some ways, and they really benefit each other. Next up is Voridus and Kinsano. I think that these two leaders have abilities that are designed to completely strip and take out bases. They also have a like kind of an eco annoying kind of setup. Of course, with combat spoils, you can bother opponents' buildings and make resources on that. But Kinsano's Y ability does such a great job against bases. You can combine that with all of the goo that Voridus drops with a Cataclysm and an Inferno. You're going to do a ton of damage. Also, keep in mind that the goo and any fire that you drop from Kinsano, whether that's the Napalm missiles or the Inferno, does damage on the ground. And Voridus' Infusion does that as well. Finally, the last one I have is Voridus and Atriox. What I love about this, you can combine this with other leaders too, but Voridus has the Maelstrom. So you can say, take a Maelstrom and put an entire enemy's army in that area and just drop an eradication on it and watch it all vanish. There's a whole list of other powers you can combine with this. It could be a Mac Blast, it could be a Beam, it could be an Inferno, but I think the eradication is best designed for the Maelstrom. A notable mention is Shipmaster and Atriox. You can do a displacement and an eradication. We have this really great clip on Team Respawn Shorts where Ed displaced an army into like the line of sight of a node, and or is the other way around. Ed dropped the eradication. I displaced the opponent's army into that eradication. It instantly vanished. They had no time to react. It was absolutely incredible. So it's kind of a long list, an exhausting list, but not a complete list of all of the best leader combos and counters in Halo Wars 2. There's plenty more. What I love about having so many leaders in Halo Wars 2 is really the combinations can be endless. Again, I love to know your thoughts of your favorite counters and combos in the comments down below. And if you want to continue on this conversation, join our Discord server where you're coming upon 4,000 members who love to chat with Halo Wars. And if this is your first time on Team Respawn, we love Halo Wars. We post Halo Wars content pretty much every day, and I live stream Halo Wars 2 over on our Twitch page. So check all that out. Links are down below. All right, that does it for me. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And I'll see you, James.